Hello, my name is Erin, and I'm going to walk you through some easy steps for teaching and assessing the 6th grade standard, which is to recognize and create basic optical illusion art and demonstrate space in art using foreground, midground, and background. Also, demonstrate the difference between positive and negative space in art. I'm going to help you unpack and understand this standard. Be sure to check out the description for a full list of the materials. And thanks for joining me today. For additional information and resources, please be sure to visit Learning for System in Canvas or the Fine Arts channel in the 6th grade team. So, what is space? Space is used to create the illusion of depth within an artwork. There are a variety of ways to accomplish this. Here are 6 simple ways to create the illusion of space on a flat surface. Overlap, shading, placement, size, value and focus, and linear perspective. I want to focus on 3 of the 6 ways: size, placement, and overlapping. These 3 ways are typically the easiest to incorporate into your work of art to create a feeling of space or depth. Size refers to the scale in which your objects are drawn. Typically, if an object is larger, it will appear closer to the viewer, as you can see in this example right here. This larger shape appears to be closer. If an object is smaller, it will appear further away from the viewer, as you can see these shapes in the back. Placement refers to where the object or objects are placed within the picture plane. Usually, if an object is placed higher on the paper, it will appear further away, versus if an object is placed lower on the paper, it will appear closer. Overlapping refers to putting one object in front of another object. The object that is placed in front will be closer, and the object that is behind will be in the back. You can see evidence of overlapping in this example with these 2 smaller figures are overlapping this more medium-sized one. These 3 ways to create a sense of space or depth on your paper also sets up the 3 spatial areas: the foreground, the midground, and the background. Objects that are closer to the viewer are in the foreground, as you can see right here again with this larger shape. Objects that are furthest away from the viewer are in the background, as are this medium-sized individual in this example. And finally, the objects that are sandwiched in between the foreground and the background are considered the midground, which in this case would be these 2 individuals who are sandwiched between the foreground and the background. Let's go ahead and apply what we have just learned about foreground, midground, and background as we look at this painting, The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. What is in the foreground, or the closest to you, the viewer? Well, it would be the pocket watch and the melting clock on this brown-looking table. What is in the background, or the furthest away from you, the viewer? Probably the sky, the body of water, and the cliffs. Now, what is in the midground, or the objects that are sandwiched between? The tree branch with another clock draped over its limb, and the folded up looking face with the 3rd clock. Space can also refer to the positive and negative space that is between, around, and within objects. When we are referring to positive space, we are identifying the objects that we recognize, like the faces, or the vases, or the chair in these examples. When we are talking about the negative space, we are looking for the areas that exist between, around, and within the object or objects that we recognize, such as around here is the negative space, and here is the negative space, and looking at this chair, we also have evidence of the negative space that surrounds, the negative space in between, and the negative space that is throughout. How does all of this information relate to op art? Well, let's first define what op art is. Op art, short for optical art. This word optical is used to describe things that relate to how we see. Op art is a style of visual art that uses optical illusions. Op art works are abstract, with many better-known pieces created in black and white. Typically, they give the viewer the impression of movement, hidden images, flashing and vibrating patterns, or the swelling or warping. This example of op art by Bridget Riley highlights the characteristics of this style of art. Let's look at a few more examples of op art by artists who are known for creating these optical illusions. Banya by Victor Vasarely. Untitled by Frank Stella. This piece is by Jesus Rafael Soto. And our last piece is another one by Bridget Riley. As students become more familiar with the three key parts of this standard: 1, recognizing the basic characteristics of op art. 2, demonstrating their understanding of space, being able to identify the three spatial areas in a work of art: the foreground, the midground, and the background. And 3, showing the differences of positive and negative space in art. They will then have the confidence to create a project similar to this one. This example of an easy op art activity shows proficiency of all three key parts. First, you can see characteristics of the op art style: a feeling of movement as if the hand is pulling away from the paper. Secondly, we can identify two of the three spatial areas: the foreground, which is the hand, and the background that surrounds it. And all of this leads us to recognizing the positive space, which again is the hand, and the negative space, which is all the area between and around and within this shape. Be sure to check out the description for the full list of materials, and thanks for joining me today. For additional information and resources, please be sure to visit Learning for System in Canvas or the Fine Arts channel in the 6th grade team.